So my name is Justin, and today we're going to look at HTML forms and tables. But before we do that, I'm going to show you how to push your work to GitHub. So the last time we did a project and I expected everyone to push the work to GitHub, but people have been finding it so hard to push the work. So we're going to do it again and then take it step by step. I'm going to show you each step you should take to push your work to GitHub, so that by the end of the day, everyone knows how to push work to GitHub. Let me share my screen. So we're going to look at Git and GitHub. So they're telling us Git is the free and open source distributed version control system used by majority of developers. Git tracks changes you make to our files, and then you can have a record of whatever you've been doing, and you can have a revert to specific versions should you ever need to. So basically, Git is just a tool that's used to keep track of our work. Like if at all you make a change to your file today, and okay, if you happen to create a file today, and then the next day you change your file, maybe you're creating a login form, and you have a username, you have an email address, you have a submit button. But at some point, instead of writing using the word submit, you wanted it to be login instead, or maybe you want to change the color. So Git helps you like track what you have in the first place, then maybe the changes you make after 1 week, after 1 month, after 10 months, stuff like that. So you can keep track of your work, or even after, if I told you know like that color doesn't suit what I want, you can always go back to maybe your blue color or your orange or your green button. So basically, Git is just there to help us keep track of the changes we make to our files and work. And like Eric said last time, Git is different from GitHub. So Git is the tool we use, and then GitHub is just a hosting platform for our projects. So GitHub, they're telling us GitHub is a code hosting platform for version control and collaboration. It lets you and others work together on projects from anywhere. It makes collaboration easy, allowing changes by multiple people to be merged into one source. So GitHub is just a hosting platform for the different projects. As I'm going to show you, like people create different projects and host them and deploy them on GitHub. And through GitHub, you can work with actually anyone from around the world. So you don't need to be like on the same table to be working together. You can collaborate with anyone. Like I can now collaborate with you guys when I'm working from here and you're also working from that side. You can even work on projects outside Uganda, so long as you know how to use it properly. So the trick behind GitHub is that everyone makes their changes, and then you can merge your work into one source file. So you create one repository and everyone works on their part or whatever stack they're working on, and then at the end of it all, you have one project and someone can merge, and then you form one project like this. GitHub has alternatives like GitLab and Bitbucket, but they all use one tool, that's Git. So you can use Git and then maybe host your project or deploy it on GitLab or Bitbucket, but still the tools you use will be like the same, and the commands will be the same. It's only the hosting platform that will change. But if at all you don't want to use GitHub, there's an alternative. You can get an account on GitLab and Bitbucket, but for this training, we shall be using GitHub. Then we have a few Git commands and their uses. There are actually so many, but I selected a few for like starters. So when you're starting out on your Git journey, or when you want to like host your project on GitHub, the first command you always do, actually there are different ways of pushing what to GitHub, but I'm going to show you this one because that's what we have currently. But also you can do it the other way around. So you have Git init, which is used to initialize an empty repository on your computer, like local on your laptop or your PC, whatever you're using. We have Git Clone, and here you're seeing they put in those braces, they're putting in square brackets, they put the URL. So cloning is like duplicating a project. When you host your project on GitHub, or when you create a GitHub repository online, when you want to have that project on your machine, you always have to clone it to your computer. So they're telling us it will retrieve an entire repository from a hosted location via URL. So when you have a project already, or a repository on GitHub or GitLab or Bitbucket, you can always get it locally on your machine and make changes to it before you push the work back using this command of Git Clone. So you write the command Git Clone and then you specify the URL, because you might have more than one repository, just like I'm going to show you. Then now we have Git Status. They're telling us this shows us the modified files in a working directory staged for your next commit. So wherever you make changes to your file, if at all you want to know maybe which files are added to your staging area, which files have changed, which ones have you modified, you always have to type this command, Git Status. They'll always show you in different colors. Maybe if it's modified, it will show in yellow or orange. If at all it's a new file you've added, they will show you in green. Or if at all you've added like you've added some files and you haven't added them yet, they always show in red. Then we have Git Add, which is used to add files to our staging area. I'm going to show you like the staging area is just part of the Git workflow, because the Git has three trees. We have the working directory, we have the staging area, and then the head. So I'm going to show you that later on when we dive into our example. We have Git Commit. In square brackets, they're putting us a descriptive message. So committing is like saving your work, so saving your files or saving your work. So this will help you like save that snapshot. Like I told you, when you're working with Git, it always help you keep track of your changes. Maybe you have a website which is in pink right now, and maybe the client doesn't like the design. So you go back and then change it to maybe blue. You know, some clients are very, very funny. Today have something in red. The client won't be like happy with that design. They'll tell you change it to yellow. You take it in yellow, and they be like, no, you know, red was better. So if I told you you had kept the version of red, you won't have to do it again. But if I told you didn't have Git to help you out, you'll have to like redesign it and change everything back to red. So Git will always help us like save those changes. So today you have something in black, the client wants it in blue, the next day they want it in green. After some time they change their mind, they want it like they want you to go back to the very, very first version you had. You just revert and go back. Why? Because you had saved your changes using the command called Git Commit. So this will always help us keep track of those snapshots. Whatever change you make, always commit. So that anytime you want to go back, you can just switch to that commit message and they'll always bring you that work. Then the other command is about the Git Push. So you have to always push your work after committing, after adding, doing everything. You have to always push your work, like to host it remotely. Because if at all you're having work on your computer, I can't view that work. But if at all you push it on online, so I can view that work. So that's actually how we're going to be working. So you work on a project, then push it to GitHub so that everyone is able to view it, or even review, like, and then we assess your work and see how far you've gone. So we shall be using Git, and then command that will help you push that work online is the Git Push. But actually, take note of the casing. Here, all the Git commands, like the keyword Git, it starts with a small letter. So it's always lowercase Git. Don't write it like this. It's always like this. So make sure you get whatever command you precede it with the Git in lowercase. I'm going to show you how to push work to GitHub. Questions will come in later, but actually these are some of the few commands that you're going to see in the first place. Later on, we shall explore and see other commands and how they work. But actually, one command I forgot was about the configuration. If at all it's your first time creating a GitHub account and it's your first time to push work to GitHub, before you save those changes or before you make a commit, Git will always ask you like for your username and then your password. So you always, your username and your email. So there is a command you have to write, which is it's git global git config global dash dash user.name, and then you put in your username, your GitHub username. Then the same command, it's the same command you write git config, then 2 hyphens global. Then you set your email. So you have to use the exact email you use when you're creating a GitHub account, because Git will always require you to to know the person who's making the changes, always saving the changes, so that when you go back after 10 years, you can know it's so and so who made these changes, or it's so and so is making changes to these particular files. Because you're going to be collaborating on different projects, and then they always want to know who contributed this, who maybe worked on the login page, who is working on the registration, who is working on maybe our dashboard, something like that. So Git always want to know who is making the changes. But actually, it's a one-time command. That's why I didn't add it here. But it's very, very important. When you don't do it, you will never push your work to GitHub. It always asks you for it. So make sure you know the two things: your GitHub username and then the email you use to create the GitHub account. Yeah, let's dive in. Questions will come in later. So last time we did our first web page, and we want to push that web page to GitHub. So the first thing I always do is create a GitHub repository, but let me just take it step by step and do it from scratch. So hopefully everyone has a folder called web or website on your desktop or wherever you kept that work we did in the first place. The one with the image. So I'm going to push this work to GitHub, my index file, and then the images folder. So what I'll do, I'll open this project with the Visual Studio Code. Because Visual Studio Code comes with a terminal inbuilt, but if I told you're not using it, you can always use Git Bash or whatever terminal you have. So this is the work I'm going to push to GitHub. Let me first open this in the browser so that everyone is able to view which work, actually which code we're pushing. So that when it's online, you can see like these are the exact files we push to GitHub. I'm going to open it in the browser. Yes, this is the work we're going to push to GitHub. So we need to go back. Hope everyone has worked like that, looks like this, the one we did in the very first place. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open my terminal. The shortcut for opening the terminal is Control and then the button below, the key below escape, the escape key. Or you can simply do View and then select terminal. You see the shortcut Control plus this one. But let me just do it that way. So remember the first command to push in our work was to initialize a repository, like an empty repository locally. So I'll come back to my Git command. This is the first command we're going to write, Git init. So when you have a complete project on your local machine, that's the first command you use. So it's to initialize an empty repository. Why initialize it? It's the one that's going to keep track of our work. Actually, when you initialize an empty repository, it will create for you a folder called Git, code.git in your project. So this is the one that's going to keep track of whatever changes you make. So when I do Git init, hope you're observing the changes that have happened to my files. They're telling me initialize empty Git repository in this particular path, home, Justin, desktop, website, and they created a folder called .git. That's what's going to be tracking my work. Though actually it's a hidden folder. Sometimes you can't see it, but sorry, it's there. Because in Linux, when you want to see the list of folders you have, you just do ls. But when I do ls, I'll just see my files, my images, and the index file. But when I do ls and then -a, like to list everything, you can see that .git folder was created automatically. So wherever you do Git init, it will just know it will always create this .git folder in your work, and it will always be tracking your work, whatever changes you make to the project. I'll just do clear. Okay, let me just leave the clear so that you see all the steps we're taking. But actually, the ls only works if at all you're using Linux. Don't try it if at all you're using Windows. I'm not sure if it works in Git Bash, but you can try it. If it does, well and good. Okay, so when I initialize an empty repository, all my files will change to green. So our next command was git status, I guess. Whenever I make a command, always normalize typing git status to check to see the status of your work, or to check how far you've gone. So when I do git status, they even give you some brief explanations. You see what comes in my terminal? So they're telling me no commits yet on a master branch. Actually, by default, we're working on the master branch. If at all you don't specify what branch you want to push this work to, they always take you to the master branch. That's the default branch. So they're telling us these files are untracked. So they're telling us the next command. Use Git Add, in bracket, you put in the file, to include whatever will be committed. So they're telling us our next command. So we have to now do Git Add. So I'll type my command Git Add. Then you have to specify the files you want to add. So if at all I only want to add index.html, I can just simply say I want index.html. Index.html, that's my file. It's the one I want to add. So the moment I don't get any errors, it will always show me this, take me to the next step. If at all there are some errors that AutoCAD, they already show you like where the mistake came from, and you always just have to rectify it. So after adding only the index file, let me show you when I type Git Status again. You see now, they are showing me these are the changes to be made, but I haven't made any commits yet. This file is still untracked. Now, what Git Add does, it adds like your file to the staging area. You see, they are telling me this is the command I should use to remove my file, to unstage it or remove it from the staging area. But when it's added, it will always show in green. The untracked files will always show in red. So when you want them to also be tracked and then be added to the staging area, you just have to add them again. But if at all you only want to push your index file, you can go ahead and commit the file. If at all you don't want the images. Let's first add the index alone without the images folder. So I'll just type Git Commit, because that's my next command. Like after Git init, Git Status, Git Add, the next step is to Git Commit. Git Commit is like saving. Git Commit. Make sure you put in the right spelling. Like now it's written single M. It has to be capital double M and then IT. Then you have to also put a space. Minus M standing for the message. Then in double quotes, you put the descriptive message. Maybe like after 3 weeks, you won't be remembering what changes actually you were doing exactly. So you have to put in a message to help you like later on understand what you're trying to make, or to help actually other people you're working with. Maybe like it's Justin, it's Mercy, it's Vanessa, it's Carol, Cynthia, like we're working together and everyone's working on different things. So you have to like make sure at least I understand what Cynthia is doing, I understand what Mercy is doing, or what changes they have added, what Vanessa has added, what Stella has added, like those things. So you have to always put in a message describing exactly what changes or what files you've added. So I'll add maybe add the index file. That's actually what we're doing right now, adding our file. So when everything is fine, you already see this message. But note, remember I told you, if I told you have never pushed work to GitHub, they always ask you to configure like your GitHub username and then your email. So what you have to do is just do Git global. Actually, they already show you the commands to use. If at all it's your first time pushing work to GitHub. -- user dot name. Then in quotes, you put your GitHub username, your exact GitHub username. For my case, I use this. I use my name, my two names. That's my GitHub username. So you have to write a command that looks like this. If at all it's your first time, because they won't show you this message if at all they don't know who's trying to make the commits, who's trying to save those changes. So they will always ask you, and all you have to do is do this. But for me, since I already pushed work to GitHub, I don't need this command. My Git commit will work very, very well. But if at all it doesn't, just know you have to write that command. They'll even show you the command. Oh, it's actually supposed to be like this: git config -- global user dot name, then space in double quotes you put your GitHub username. It's basically configuration. You're trying to like let Git know is making the changes. I can actually say to like do enter, then you write the same command, git config. Like they need two things: your GitHub username and your email. -- global, like the same command, it's only the values that change. So instead of writing here user.name, I'll write user.email. Then I put in a valid email address. That's the email address used to create your GitHub account. In my case, I use this email. So if everything is valid, you just press enter. So these commands won't do anything, but actually you need them before you commit. If at all it's your first time, but if at all actually you configure them, they'll never ask you for them again, unless you like when you change maybe to a different machine, or maybe you change the operating system, or maybe you bought a new laptop. That's when they'll like when you do a new installation of Git. That's the only time they'll ask them for you. But if at all you're using the same computer, you just do it once. They'll never ask for them again. So after committing, all you have to do is push your work. You just type Git push. Now note what they bring me. No configured push destination. So I'm trying to push work, but actually Git doesn't know where you're pushing the work exactly, because I don't have a remote repository yet. So what they're telling me is to add this command, git remote add, then the name where you want to push your work, and then the URL. So this is where we're going to actually go ahead to this GitHub and then create a repository. So if at all you first finish your project, the process becomes longer somehow, but it's the same thing. So what I have to do now is, because I have to create a remote destination, like online, where my project is going to sit. So I have to come back and then open my browser, go to github.com, log in. So I'll go to github.com, log in or sign in, and then create a repository. After logging in, just have to come here and then select new repository. Just like Eric did last time. I'll just call mine my first website. Not if at all you put spaces in your repository name, they always separate the words with hyphens. But if at all you want one word, don't put space. But it's okay, I can go with that. So after putting a valid repository name, I'll just come and I can initialize a README just to save time, because they always ask me for it. I can even add a git ignore file, but I shall look at the git ignore later on. I'll just create a repository like this. So after putting in the repository name, you can just check the initialize a README. I'll show you the importance of a README file later on. So after, they'll show you like, they'll take you to this screen. So all you have to do is come here and then clone. Actually, it's not cloning, but you have to copy the URL. But I'm going to show you how to clone, how things become easier when you first clone your project, when you first create a repository, instead of first finishing your project and push it to GitHub. So you come to this drop down and select this, or you can simply copy the URL, highlight everything, or you can simply click here to copy. So the moment you tap here, it will like the URL will be copied. So you have to come back to your terminal or to your Git bash, and then type the command. Type it the way it is here. Git remote add, put a space. Git remote add, space. The name I'll just put in origin. Like you want to specify where do you want it to go. Then you paste the URL. The URL, they're meaning the one you've just cloned, this one. This is the URL they're asking for. So after copying it, you just come and paste. The shortcut for pasting in the terminal is Ctrl Shift and V. Don't press Ctrl V, it won't work out. Just hold Ctrl Shift, then V at the same time. So here, initially in the URL, they'll just give me this link to github.com / your GitHub username, then / the repository name, the one you've created. This is where you want this work to go. you press enter. If there are no errors, they'll always take you to the next step. So we don't have any errors. So our next step now, now Git is aware of where to push this work, our index file. So I'll just type Git push. So they'll ask me to set up, to type this command. They're telling me to push the current branch and take remote, use this. So I'll just come on, you can just actually type the command again, or you can copy. Let me type it. Git push. They're telling us to set the upstream branch to master. So I'll press enter. Yes. So if everything goes on well, they will prompt you for your GitHub username. So you have to enter in a valid GitHub username. Make sure you know your GitHub username. That's why I shared the document so that everyone shares their GitHub username and email. So you can either use your GitHub username or the email address you used. All will work. So they also ask for a password to your GitHub account. So make sure you remember your password. When I'm typing the password, you won't see it, but you have to know it. So right now I'm typing my password, though you're not seeing, but I'm typing it. Yes. And that's actually we need to that's all we need to push our to GitHub. If everything is a success, they will always show you this message. They tell you what files you've pushed, what, and then they're telling you to visit this remote, this your remote. So what you can do is just go back to your GitHub and check after pushing your work successfully. You just come back and refresh. Hope you're seeing the changes on my screen. Master had recent pushes less than a minute ago, something like that. If at all you're not seeing that, you just have to refresh. Come here, refresh. And are you seeing when I click here and select the master branch, they're showing my index.html file, and that's the file we pushed. Is it the same file we have offline? Let me check. Hope you're having the same content. So right now I have my file here, but actually it's hosted online. And not actually they only push the index.html, they did push the images. Later on, I'll show you how to use GitHub pages to actually view your site online. But right now, all you can see is our code. So actually, if I happen to make any changes, maybe I want to change my H1 to be hello world instead of welcome to my website. Hope you're noticing the changes that are happening to my file. You see now, my file has changed. Now it's bringing me M to show that it's modified. But before, actually, it was showing like this. Before, it was white in color. But when I make any changes, why? Because Git is tracking whatever changes I make to my file. So right now, when I try editing, even if you just put in space, it always show you this file has been modified. Why? Because the first file we pushed didn't have that space, but right now it has some space in. So I'll modify my file and say hello world. So not what we have in GitHub. I have a heading of welcome to my website. Now I've modified it locally and I want to push these changes to GitHub. So what I can do is repeat the process, but actually this time around, they're going to be simpler steps. So you don't have to do the Git init again. Why? Because this work is already tracked by GitHub. So no need for repeating yourself. All I have to do is do Git. Maybe I can even check do Git status. You see now that's telling me my images are untracked, but this one is modified. So I can even choose now to add everything, including my images. What I have to do is do Git add space and then put a full stop. Make sure there is a space between add and the full stop. So what I have to do is what the full stop means actually it's add everything in that folder code website. So when you put Git add space full stop, it means add everything, like all the files, all the folders, add everything. So after adding it, when I do Git status again, you see now all my files are in green. Why? Because they are all staged and they no longer have untracked files. They're all in the staging area, waiting to be like taken to the next step. So I have to put in a commit message after like Git add, then Git commit. If at all you don't have a repository yet, you have to do Git init. But this time around, you already have a repository where we want to push our work. So I'll just do Git commit to save these changes. Git commit -m, then put in a commit message that updated, or maybe update index file, or update h1. Actually, you have to be like specific. What changes did you actually make? So this time around, I have to be direct. I didn't update the whole file, but I made some particular change. That was updating my heading to be hello world instead of welcome to my website. And add images. So that will be my commit message, so that even after 2 years, I'll remember, oh, when I was doing this and this, I was trying to update my H1 and add the images. Yes, if everything is a success after committing, remember when you're committing, your first time to commit, they already ask you for your GitHub username and then your GitHub user email. But for us, we already did that, so no need. So our next command is to just do Git push. So actually this time around, because it already knows the destination where we're trying to push our work, they won't prompt me for to do the Git remote add. So this will be straightforward. They'll just ask me for my GitHub username. I'll just enter it. Then the password. Remember, you won't see the password, but you have to make sure you type in the right password. If you type in a wrong password, your work will never get there. So make sure you already type in the right password. And it's done. So after pushing your work, you just have to come back and check. When you don't see any changes here, you just have to refresh. I hope you're seeing my hello world. So my heading has changed from my first website to hello world now. And you're seeing the commit message. Actually, it also comes to GitHub, that commit message. Even the images are there. So now I have to commit. So I have to commit. I have this one. That was the first commit. Actually, they even track what time you made the commit message. This was made 16 minutes ago, and this was made 2 minutes ago. They even track, so that even after 4 years, if at all you still have this work, you know this commit was made 2 years back, or 3 years back, or 5 years, or 10 years back. So they always keep track of that time. So even here, I no longer have the index.html alone. I also have the images folder. When I click on the images folder, you see, have my KampaBits image here, and then my zebra. You see? So that's how you basically push work to GitHub. Any questions? I'm waiting for your questions.
Mercy here. I just had one.
Sorry?
What exactly is a master?
The master.
Mm,
The master is a branch. Actually, it's
mm,
the default branch. When the moment you create a GitHub repository,
mm.
the default branch is always the master branch. So it's like your major branch.
Okay, so what's a function of those branches?
The branches,
Mm,
the branches basically help you when you're making these changes. So like I told you, GitHub will always help you when you're collaborating with different people. So let's say I'm working with you on a project, but you're supposed to work on the login page. I'm supposed to work on the registration page. So what we
mm.
have to do is create different branches so that we all don't push to the master branch at once. Why? Because we shall actually have conflicts. So imagine we make changes. Now, like I've made changes to my H1. You also want a different heading for like our website. So the moment you like all edit at the same time, we might end up getting into conflicts. So what we do like
Okay.
to like for smooth collaboration, we always
Mm.
branch off. We always create different branches. Then later on we merge them.
But everyone clones the same project.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Everyone clones the same project, and then now we just create different branches. We work like on different branches. Then after we merge our work to have one.
So when I'm pushing, I push to that specific branch that I've created.
Yes, actually, the moment you create a branch, later on, I'm going to show you. Actually, I'm going to show you how to create a branch. The moment you create a branch, you push to that specific branch. Like we did in the first place, they asked us to like set the upstream branch to be master. So if at all I have a branch called maybe login, I will just have to push to that to set the upstream branch to be login. Then later on, I can merge my work to be on the same branch. That's the master branch. But when you all like have clone one repository and then you have one project.
Okay.
Any other question? Are we good to go? Yes.
No, Justin, I'm
How do you
asking,
merge?
how do I match?
Okay.
Yeah.
There are actually two ways of merging. You can either merge locally, but actually the simplest way is to merge online after pushing your work to GitHub. Are you seeing this option of compare and pull request? Oh, let me share my screen. Sorry. So on GitHub, there are different options. So you're seeing compare and pull requests. So when you click on this one, they're basically like comparing the different branches. So this same round, I have the base branch and then the master branch. But they're telling us there is nothing like to compare. Like they're all like having the same content, nothing to like to compare. But if at all you happen to have like anything, they always like show you the changes you've made on this branch. Let's say you have a feature branch, like I said, that was the example of login and register. You have a register branch and then you have a login. Or maybe you have like two different two different versions of your work, and then you want to like merge whatever, like after testing that login branch, like you're satisfied with everything in the login, everything works well after testing everything. Your work is good to be like merged to the master branch. You just come here and then compare the two branches. They will show you like if at all there are any conflicts, or if at all it's good to be merged. Later on down, you already see a button that tells you merge your work. But since right now we don't have anything to merge, you won't see anything. You see they're telling us there isn't anything to compare. So they're telling us the main and the master branch are entirely different commit, have different commit histories. So in order to merge a branch, you have to like make sure you branched off from that one. I don't know if you're trying to get it, but it's like a tree. If at all I want to merge the master branch at any point, I have to make sure before branching off, before creating that branch, like let's have my master branch, I have to make sure I branch off exactly from the master branch. Otherwise, they will be totally different in history. So let's say I have a login page, I have my master branch. But before adding my login, I want to create a login page. So I'll just create a small branch of master called login. Or I can also create another branch called register. If at all I create my login and register of master branch, they will be like compared. And then therefore, after like making my changes, testing them, seeing everything works fine, I can always merge back, like merge this work, my register form into my master branch, or my login page into my master branch. Why? Because when I was creating the branch, it was off master. But if I told it was, you can never merge the two branches. I don't know if you've tried to do it. Yes? Yes.
Just I have another question. Okay. For example, I've cloned this repository to my local PC, but I'm supposed to work on the login. So I create a branch called login.
Yes.
I do my work. So my question is, what's the best practice is to commit in that branch?
Yes, actually you commit and push to that branch. Merging will come in like later after even pushing the work to GitHub.
Okay. Okay, now I get it. Thank you.
Yes. Any other question? Any other question? Questions, please.
Justin,